What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch review for you. So today I'm partnering up with Mooncat to show you their new Fallen collection. Now before we get into it, if you haven't heard of Mooncat before, they are a nail polish brand that is based in the US and all of their polishes are 10 free, meaning they are free of 10 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They are vegan, meaning they do not use any animal derived ingredients, and they're also cruelty free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. Now for this new collection, we've actually got 10 brand new colors and a lot of different finishes here. We've got shimmers, we've got multi-chromes, we've got some magnetics, we have thermals, which I'm very excited about. So let me show you all the swatches, then we can get into my thoughts on the whole collection, and then we can talk a little bit more about pricing and availability. So let's get started and roll the swatch footage. So as with all of my swatch review videos, I am using base coat underneath all of my swatches just to protect my natural nail and prevent any stains. Today it's the Mooncat base coat. And now starting off with the brightest shade of the collection, this is Poems for a Harvest Moon. So we've got this really beautiful, very vibrant orange crelly base, and then within that we've got a pinky shimmer running throughout. And I have to say, at first glance, I was a little surprised to see a color like this for this time of year, but the more I look at it, the more autumnal it kind of feels to me. And having that pinky shimmer in there does make the orange feel a little bit more like a coral or salmon kind of color, and I feel like it just makes it a little bit more wearable for people who don't necessarily love wearing bright oranges but still want to feel seasonally appropriate. Next up we have the shade Witch Hazel, and this one is a peachy beige shimmer, and it just has this absolutely stunning iridescent golden fleck running throughout, and let me tell you, I will never get enough of this kind of color. It is just so perfect to me. I love the way that it looked in one coat, but I also applied a second just to show you what that looked like, and this just feels like a perfect any time of year color for me. This feels so professional to me, but also perfect for a special occasion or a wedding. And what I love about this one in particular is that it does have these slightly larger flecks of shimmer in there, so it really feels a little bit more multifaceted than usual. I feel like all the colors kind of catch the light as I move my finger around, and you can just see a lot going on in there, and it's still such a simple color, so I don't know, I just love this one. Next up we have the shade Memento Mori, and this one is described as an ivory polish that has an orangey copper shimmer running throughout, and I actually really love this one as well. It doesn't feel quite like a white, but I felt like on me it almost leaned very slightly gray toned, which makes it feel so perfect for autumn in my opinion, because this is such a fun ghostly kind of color. But again, it also feels like a really beautiful wedding shade, a really beautiful professional kind of color, just something you can wear for so many different occasions, and it really feels like it works for all of them. Plus it did give me opacity in 2 coats, which I thought was very impressive. And then we have the shade After the Rain. This one is a periwinkle base, and then we've got a duochrome shimmer running throughout that shifts from a coppery orange color into gold, and this is another absolutely stunning one. It kind of does feel like a cloudy day, so it's named absolutely perfectly, and I loved the way that this looked in 2 coats. And again, we have that very slightly larger shimmer than usual, so it feels a little bit more multifaceted, and I just love the combination of a cool toned base with a warm toned shimmer. I will just never get over that combo. I always think it looks great. Speaking of combinations that I will always love, this is Dark Night of the Soul, and this one is a purple base that is totally packed with a blue shimmer, which, as you may know, is one of my favorite nail polish combos of all time, and I instantly fell in love with this one. I started off with 2 coats, and I really love that look because you can really see the warmth of that purpley base, but you can also still see very strongly the blue shimmer. But just out of curiosity, I did end up doing a 3rd coat, and I think that that cooled down the manicure a little bit, but it really drove up the intensity of that blue color. So I think depending on my mood, I might want to wear it in 2 coats, I might want to wear it in 3, and I think it looks really beautiful both ways. Next up we have the shade Jewel Beetle, and this one is a multi-chrome polish. So looking at it head on, I primarily see pink into copper into orange, but I'm also seeing around the edges a lot of golden yellow, and then at more extreme angles I can also see a lot of green and even into blue. And this one, it was a tiny bit sheer on the 1st coat, but I ended up getting perfect opacity in the 2nd, and I love when a multi-chrome polish is opaque in 2 coats because sometimes they are 3 coaters on my nail length and that can be a lot. But what I really love about this one, I know I sound like a broken record, but I love that slightly larger shimmer in there because again, it just feels a little bit more multifaceted than usual, and I really enjoy that. So now moving on into the more complex finishes. First up, we've got the Magnetics. This one is called Fields of Lavender, and it's a very interesting color because the base is this really beautiful, soft, cool toned purple, but the shimmer within it is a really intense coppery red into orange. And honestly, on its own, I do think this is a really beautiful polish. I think that combination of base plus shimmer makes it look like a very unique shade, but once I magnetized it, oh my goodness, I absolutely fell in love. So what I like to do is 2 coats for opacity and then a 3rd coat to magnetize, and once I pulled away that magnet, all of that purple stayed behind, whereas all of the magnetic shimmer pulled to the center, and it just gave such a beautiful multi-chromatic kind of look. Again, love that combo of a cool base with a warm shimmer. And then of course I wanted to try it in the velvet style, and the way that I like to do the velvet style is I just kind of move the magnet around the outer edge of my nail, and I personally love to pull all of the magnetic pigment to the front of the manicure and make it look kind of like a 3-dimensional marble kind of look. So this really enhanced the color of that reddish orangey shimmer in there, and I totally loved this as well. Very different look though. And then we have the shade Nocturne, which is another magnetic, and this is actually one of the more unique magnetics I've ever seen. So we actually have this blackened teal base. We also have a coppery orange shimmer running throughout, which is the magnetic part, and then we also have these little bronze flakies. So again, just on its own, unmagnetized, I thought this was such a beautiful color. For some reason, it gave me a little bit of like a designer bag vibe, but again, I applied another coat to magnetize it, and I absolutely did not expect what it ended up looking like. This magnetized in the cat eye style looks like a galaxy manicure to me. Something about that blackened teal color around the edges with the flakes in there look like stars, and then we have what looks like nebulas with that coppery reddish orange color in the middle. So I thought this was absolutely breathtaking in the cat eye style, and of course I wanted to try it in the velvet style as well, just pulling all of that coppery pigment to the front, and it just looked so fiery and vibrant. It almost reminded me of coals burning with that reddish color coming through. So again, 2 very different looks magnetizing the same polish, and I really love that. And then we have 2 color changing thermal nail polishes. This first one is called Sagebrush, and it's a really beautiful sage green polish that is packed with little holographic sparkles, and this one's really interesting. Honestly, in its cold state and its warm state, I would describe both of these colors as being a sage green. So we've got this cooler toned dark green that has a little bit of a gray tone to it in its cold state, and then in its warmer state it becomes this light succulent sage green kind of shade. So the best way to show you thermal polishes is with water. So I've got cold water on the left, warm water on the right, and you can see this is a very reactive polish. So as soon as I stick my nail in the water, it changes, and then you can see it starting to change back because my hand was kind of cold while I was doing this. So it's very sensitive to the color change, and I love both of these shades of green. I think they both work so beautifully, and I feel like this would also be very cool for some succulent nail art, especially because this is a very opaque polish. Normally thermals are a little bit more on the sheer side, so it's harder to do color changing nail art, but I think this one would be perfect for that. And then I saved my favorite polish for last for this review. This is Twilight Sonata, and this one is a beautiful, deep indigo kind of color when it's in its cold state, and then in its warm state it becomes this gorgeous warm toned orchid purple shade, and it does have this blue shimmer running throughout, which, like I said, I am a huge fan of the combination of a purple with a blue shimmer in there, and this color shift is just unreal. I have not seen a thermal like this before. Again, we have the cold water on the left, the warm water on the right, and it is a very drastic shift. That deep blue color is so gorgeous. It almost looks like sapphire kind of shade, and then we get this beautiful light orchid purple that honestly I would wear either of these colors on their own, so the fact that they are combined into one thermal is truly amazing. So this is another shade that I just can't get enough of. So here are all the polishes together, and it's actually a really interesting color story. The way I divided up this little graphic for you is all of the lighter shades are on the top row, and then we have the darker shades on the bottom, and it's definitely an unexpected unexpected color story, but I honestly love all of these shades. I think individually they're so beautiful. I think that some of them pair really nicely together as well, which works really nice. And I kind of love this theme that we might have gotten unintentionally, where we have a lot of orange tone shades and then we have a lot of purple tone shades, which, even though I said this was an unexpected kind of color story, those two colors to me are just the ideal October shades. So I feel like this is just perfect timing for that. But overall, I just really loved the variety of different formulas that we had. They were all really easy to use, and even the magnetics and the thermals were just very smooth and workable, and I think that makes them very beginner friendly. So sometimes indie brands are a little bit more tricky or they can be thicker, but I really did have such an easy time with these, so I definitely enjoyed that. The opacity is great on them, and I really do think that these colors could work for multiple seasons because a lot of these shades are any time of year kind of colors for me. But yeah, let's talk about these a little bit more. Okay, so those are the polishes, and I have to say I really enjoyed this collection. I think the color story is a little bit unexpected, especially for this time of year, but the colors are so beautiful and I think they flow so well into each other that it ends up actually working out really nicely. And I also appreciate how layered the colors are, and I feel like these not being very typical autumn colors makes them perfect for multi-season usage. I know not everybody wears their nail polishes seasonally, but I have a lot of polishes, so I try to wear mine seasonally, and I always get excited when I find a collection that works for multiple different times of year, and I think that this collection is a perfect representation of that because you really have polishes that work for any season. Of course, I have to mention the thermals because that is what I am just the most excited about. Mooncat has absolutely floored me with their thermals so far. Every single one that they have made has not only been such an easy formula and so workable, but they're also such beautiful colors. Sometimes I feel like I fall into this struggle of liking thermal nail polishes because the thermal is fun, but the warm state isn't a great color. And I have not had that experience with Mooncat thermals. I think they just did an incredible job creating colors where both options are just so stunning. And I know for those of us with short nails, sometimes it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to wear thermal because sometimes you're like, well, I feel like it's just gonna stay in the warm state all the time. But I will say I live in a hot environment and the thermals do change for me all the time. Just things like washing your hands or being in the shower, working out, if you're holding a cold drink, anything like that can really change the thermal around. And a lot of times I notice that some of my fingers are in the warm state and some are in the cold state. So I really do get to see a lot of variety in the color. But yeah, as you can see, overall, I definitely enjoyed this collection. I think all of the colors were stunning and I really enjoyed all of the formulas as well. They were super easy and workable, very beginner friendly in my opinion. So now let's get into pricing and availability. All of these polishes come in 12 milliliter bottles. They do feature a wide flat brush that has a rounded tip, so application super easy, and the prices do vary based on the formula. So the 2 magnetic polishes and the 2 thermal polishes retail for $16 USD each, and all of the rest of the formulas in the collection retail for $15 USD each. And they're all available on the Mooncat website as of today, so I will link that down in the description. You can check them out if you're interested, but I'm curious to hear from you. What do you think of this collection? Which color is your favorite? Which formula is your favorite? And also, have you tried their thermals yet? Let me know in the comments. We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe. And of course, a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon, my royal astronomer Amanda M, as well as my cosmic admirals Ken, Rosie, and Angel. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's fun fact question comes from Patreon supporter Pookie Bear, and Pookie Bear wants to know, what is your favorite scent that you like to wear? Do you go towards sweeter scents or more spicy? I feel like this is something that I like to share, but it's hard because you can't really smell things on the internet, but I'm actually very into perfumes. I definitely wear them every time I go out, and sometimes even when I'm just home I will wear perfume because I don't know, I want to use it. And honestly, I really like a huge variety of different scents. I'm not so much a seasonal perfume scent wearer. Like I don't particularly gravitate towards fruitier scents in the summer or anything like that. It's really just whatever I'm in the mood for that specific day. But I will say, as a whole, I tend to gravitate towards more musky kind of scents. I don't generally buy or wear floral scents. Although there are exceptions, I actually have a lot of perfume samples, and sometimes I like to buy little samplers that have a bunch of samples in them just because I like to have a lot of variety. I'm not like a person who wears the same scent every day, so I probably smell pretty different every single day. But yeah, in general, I would say it's the more musky, almost masculine kind of scents that I tend to prefer. Kind of like smokier scents, sandalwood, earthy kind of smells like that. Those are the ones that are my favorite. Although I will say recently I have been wearing some fruitier scents. I think I do prefer like kind of sweeter fruity scents as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's honestly a huge variation. I couldn't even tell you a specific scent that I've been wearing frequently because like I said, it changes every day. And I honestly have probably about 50 little perfume samplers that I cycle through on a regular basis. So really, it's always different. But I'm curious, for those of you who do wear perfume or cologne, what is your signature scent, or what kind of scents do you tend to gravitate towards? Let me know in the comments. We can chat about it. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.